Welcome to the Law of Positivism podcast. I'm Shireen Oberg, and I'm a yoga teacher and author devoted to the path of healing and heart-based living. And I want to help you to step into what you truly are and to your highest potential. On this podcast, I share with you tools and insights to help you move ever forward on your spiritual and healing path. With guests from all over the world, from different wisdom traditions, I wish to create a web of loving energy that permeates the whole world to create more love and peace. You can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more guidance and love. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode. I'm so excited to be here today with Sufi. She's been on the podcast about 2 years ago, and today we will just talk about everything that she does and this magical work that she does with communication on other levels than our five senses. Welcome, Sufi, to the podcast. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm super happy to have you back. I'm so excited to talk today. It's a very important topic. For some women, it will be very healing and very insightful to listen to how we have the ability to not just communicate with, there's so many ways to communicate with other dimensions and souls, and this is a really beautiful connection that you make in your work. So maybe for those that haven't listened to the episode we recorded 2 years ago, which was a very long time ago, maybe if you want to start by just introducing yourself and what you do, and we can take it from there.
Hello, I am Sufi Ertur at Spiritual Life of Babies, and I began my journey as a doula and then found there was a lot more going on in the birth room and postpartum, and then with my own journey as a mother. And I really feel my work then blossom into mediumship, and then the two came together. And I really feel my work now is to engage and inspire other women to acknowledge the art of maternal telepathy and their own connection and understanding of the pre-language before words that they already know and feel in connection to their little ones, even beginning with preconception. So I'm just here to tell women it's real and you're not crazy. And this is how to strengthen it, understand it. And I just want to hold hands on the path and help with that journey.
That's amazing. Thank you. And I'm thinking about the journey of trying to conceive, being pregnant, giving birth, and also post-birth, that whole journey with a being that has been just birthed into this dimension and having its own path, and also very hard to like communicate on a in the way that we communicate with words, but there's so many signs and signals and energy and so much going on there between the mother and the baby. I'm thinking that that whole journey is like definitely a spiritual journey, a spiritual initiation. So how have you, because you're a doula, and you work with all of the cycles, right, with the women. It can be preconception. Maybe just explain like how that works if someone is going through that cycle from the beginning. How do you help and support, and on what level does that communication happen?
Yes. So initially, when someone will come to me with a spirit baby reading, which I have to say it's evolving beautifully. I'm always growing in my work in doing these kind of communications. And I'm really finding that when I work with anyone who's trying to conceive, a lot of times I have women come to me after they've had miscarriage. And so I will really engage. And this is how my work has changed and grown in the last 2 years. I really engage with the body-mind connection. And I'm really feeling and hearing the body speak to me in the reading and telling me the story. And then working a grief piece, because a lot of clients who have miscarried or stillborn will come to me. And, you know, the thing they tell me most is what's hardest on them is everybody wants them to move on. Think of the good side, just move forward. But you have to go into the grief. And it's good to have someone to talk to about your grief. And you can't really go into the grief and heal until you also add physicality to that healing process, whatever that means for you. But I'm loving this work. Spirit Baby used to be more cutesy, I think, in my reading quality. Now it's deepening. And the piece that women ask me or are concerned about, whether it's stillborn or miscarriage, is, did the soul suffer in the miscarriage? Did the soul, when I birthed my baby at 30 weeks, was there suffering? Now, I don't pretend to know everything, but I think this is an important piece and maybe helpful. Especially like a miscarriage early on, anytime. The soul is all-knowing and very wise. A soul is not going to sit in the body and experience that suffering unless karmically that's supposed to be what happens. But in my experience in connecting to souls, it's not my experience that they actually suffered the miscarriage, that they actually suffered this being a stillborn or all of that. It's just not been my experience. In my reading experience now over 9 years and having been a doula for over 22 years, in my experience is the soul is not completely in the body during that pregnancy time. And early pregnancy especially, and so it's not like somebody's suffering in there. Mother is suffering for the loss, but the baby, or some women who've had abortions, they ask, did the baby feel this? Was it, very difficult? To me, the soul has a link to its body, and that it energizes the body. If the link or the baby or child's not viable, the link is pulled back. That's how I see it. Again, I don't pretend to know everything. This is just my little corner of the universe, what I'm seeing in readings and talking to women. And they found that helpful.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I really, it is hard because these experiences are so embodied, right? They bring us, it's like having, when you follow your cycle, it's an embodiment because you can really feel the shifts in the cycles happening. And then when women do get pregnant, it's a very embodied experience. At the same time, it's very soulful and a spiritual experience. And then when things tend to happen in life, a reproductive loss is a very tangible and very, it can affect so many layers of our being that we forget that also it's not only our own soul's journey, it's the baby's soul's journey, and the connection and the separation can be felt very strongly also on a soul level. So I think that what you're saying also, that just thinking about, for example, stories of near-death experiences, those people who have gone through it have not maybe explained it as a painful transition when they're transitioning out and then coming back. It's more of like a peaceful state in between. So maybe
Exactly.
yeah, that could be a good
Exactly.
reminder, right?
Exactly. And I love, and I've mentioned this to you before, but I love how mediumship has grown. And, mostly mediumship has been focused on those loved ones who've passed and connection there. But my whole trajectory as a medium and my push as a medium is, if the soul is eternal and always present, why not in the beginning? Why not be able to connect in? I love Walter McKitchen. I love Spirit Babies. He was a maverick and a trailblazer, because a lot of mediums are like, well, I'm not focused on that. Or I even had a master medium say, well, that's not true mediumship. I don't know. I feel very much it's a part of mediumship, and I'm just so happy to be on this end of it. And I don't think it's an accident that I'm a doula and a medium. I spent many years just wanting to be a midwife. I didn't want to be a medium, but I love the dance and how they've come together, and I'm just so happy to serve in these beginning stages. Also want to add that the soul doesn't go away. A lot of women say when they're pregnant, before they miscarried, they very much felt their baby's personality, the soul, everything. Yes, you do, because the soul is really close and communicating. But you are still, I consider, someone who's tried, felt their spirit baby, but never had their baby. I still consider them a mother. I still consider that relationship with the soul viable and true. And it doesn't go away. The soul doesn't disappear. You're still in relationship. And, I don't know, everybody's journey is different. Everybody's journey is individual. But I just really always want to validate my clients' connection and feeling that they feel for their little ones before conception, and beyond.
Mm. I love that. That's so beautiful. And how do you work with women when you do, let's say, a reading? Do you also help, like this ability that we all have to connect with so many energies around us and souls and tapping into? Do you feel like many women also somehow open their own communication, or how does it work if someone works with you? How does a session go, especially, let's say, preconception or preconception and also pre-birth, I think, but maybe that's two different ways of communicating.
Oh, so I'm like a flashlight. So I'm a flashlight, and I just shine the light and show you, like, oh, look, see that thing you're feeling, hearing, seeing, that's real. And I'm just here to confirm what you're already hearing, seeing, feeling. There's so many women. I've worked with so many moms postpartum that were talking themselves out of what they were hearing, sensing, feeling, because they were like, that can't be real. When we give birth, we're closer to the gate, to the portal. And women, what can be considered death of the maiden, that whole journey, you're at the gate, psychically, intuitively, you open up. The first 6 weeks postpartum, you're more psychic and intuitive than you've ever been in your life, and that can be terrifying if you're not used to that energy space. You feel, hear, and see, and sharing psychic energetic space with a new baby. So you're two people now, and you're not just one. And your body is on high alert for 6 weeks to ensure that baby's survival. Because I have spent time in indigenous cultures and seeing how they work, postpartum and the village life and how that's all integrated. This is all incorporated in teaching and nurturing a new mother to build up her radar and her instinct. Now, in our society, there's a lot of division and separation, and there's all these mommy groups, and I'm this kind of parent versus, oh, I'm this kind of parent. And it's a very lonely planet in our Western society as a mother. Very lonely planet. And there's all this division. I'm doing it better than you. Nobody should be. I hope most parents are doing a mixture of attachment parenting, embracing the working mother, all these different styles, rye. Let's not get into camps and divide. Let's use tools from all of these places. My biggest complaint about reading a book that's going to teach you how to parent is this book was written for the masses. Who are you as an individual? Who is your little one as an individual? Your journey as a mother should be a painting that you create with your partner and your family. I love Dr. Gabor Mate, and he talks about this, the destruction of Western civilization on the family unit. It's just the division is really tough, especially in big cities. The nuclear family has not served us as mothers. So I have a lot of moms coming and saying, I feel this. Is it real? I think my baby wants this. So I'm just there as a flashlight in postpartum. Often I'll just be like, okay, well, ask your baby. What's going on? Look at your baby's expression. Your baby will answer the question. And sure enough, now look, if it's anything medical or serious, of course we go to our doctors, and we go to our caregivers. This is like there was even I've mentioned this before, but there's even a Yale study showing preference in babies at 2 months old. Doulas, we see preference in babies the first week. A baby will communicate by facial cues, body language. And there's so much written now about understanding a baby's body and communication. It's not woo-woo now. It's a lot of science. So I'm just here to confirm that for moms. Like you are sensing this, or you got to slow your energy down. Drop down a little bit. Get a little grounded. Let's do a little grounding exercise. Drop down. Slow your pace. And the saddest thing for babies is when mother's beating herself up. They just want you to be happy. Now, it doesn't mean you should put pressure now on yourself. Be happy, be happy. You're not hurting them. They just want your happiness. And if you take care of yourself, really, babies are so happy. And I was this way. I felt guilt, if I needed 4 hours to myself to be sane in those first 6 months. I felt guilty doing that for myself. I think as women across the board, if we have good support, good family, and we need time, do your best. But when we serve ourselves, we serve our baby and our family.
Yeah, that's so important. And it's beautiful how you can, it's like a partnership with your baby, because if the baby is also like telling you what you need and what itself needs, it becomes easier, like a better reminder. And I love how that like you said, the society is mostly working against the natural processes and against this. I can at least say that where I live, we have at least a good system for parents and mothers to be home for a long time without having to worry about their financial situation, since at least in Sweden, the maternity and paternity leave is very long. And then you have that support system. But if you live in a country where I can't even imagine how it must feel if you have given birth and this postpartum period is so important to create this foundation for yourself, for the baby, for this new life. And that is so under prioritized in society. So when it comes to, and I've spoken about this in other episodes where we talk about reproductive health and rights, it's really lacking all of these things that are connected to women's reproduction. It's under valued and under financed. So you can also see that within the medical field, that nurses and midwives are underpaid. So it's like a cycle that makes it hard to fully be fully be, especially at birth and postpartum, have that full experience, because there's so much that is not there. And I still can't believe how something as important as that, because without this process there would be no humankind in the end. So it's such an important process and initiation. It should be so much more valued in society.
Yes, in our I have many friends in Germany, and the way my girlfriends in Germany were supported, it's just it's so different. In our American culture, work is highly valued, and it's a little less now. But to be a stay-at-home mom in our society is like, oh, you're a slacker, which is crazy. But I'm glad there's like a new revolution and a lot of change away from that. But yes, you are beautifully supported where you all are. And, I also really want to add here that preconception, I have so many women coming to me saying, yes. And I felt this before I was pregnant, that I would have a boy. I felt his energy completely. And a lot of women feel the baby so strongly, but they ask me, am I crazy? Is this real? But then I will bring up something in the reading that's like, they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I got that. I felt that, So that's the preconception piece.
Yeah.
I'm here to validate and demonstrate.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. And if people are wondering on what, of course, as a medium, you can pick up and see and view these different energies in different ways. So everyone probably has their own experience of it. But when you explain it to your clients, when it comes to what is this in between world, like where do we come from and where do we go to? How do you explain that? Because maybe some people who are listening to this have never had like a spirit reading at all, or haven't worked with a medium before. How is that dimension?
Thank you. Yeah. I experience my work. As I experience my work, I hear, see, feel information. And when I have done readings, and I studied for 7 years with a mentor, and nobody needs to train you as a medium. You're more like being trained how to manage your body system, how to navigate the public, how to navigate the energetic space of going up, sort of heightening your energy, tuning up, as we call it. When I tune up in a reading space, it feels like I've gone home. And all the little things or dramas on earth disappear when I'm in reading space. I'm so incredibly happy there. And whenever I've helped people cross over, or even anybody who's been to a birth will tell you, it's not just oxytocin in the room. The spiritual party that goes on at a birth in the room, the gate, being so close to the gate, it's a feeling. So I want to talk about this from a feeling space, more than, oh, there's these pretty things, because for everybody it's different what they see when they pass. But the feeling is, I belong. I know this place. It feels like home. Everything I am is correct and right. I have no troubles. I'm expansive. It's that kind of feeling. And it's instantly recognizable. Like, oh, but for some people, it can be, because it's a lot of energy, it can be very intimidating and scary. Because it's where a lot of mediums can get into trouble. Young mediums, it's a practice of going from this really heightened, yummy space to then grounding down again back into the body and living your day-to-day life. It can be kind of a bummer sometimes. And some mediums really go towards food or a glass of wine to ground themselves, or sugar. It's interesting. I just heard recently there's all these illnesses that mediums in particularly get. And a lot of it has to do with, like, well, one is diabetes, something about like coming back down from that yummy space is like, oh, it's a little bit like postpartum, I have to tell you. I think, yeah, that's the travel in it. That's the piece that I want to share. I can't really say more than that. You would have to experience it yourself. I think, some people in ceremony or in different religions, they have, you and I were talking about my name, Sufi, Sufi mysticism. Look at the dervishes. The dervishes are in that heightened state. Meditation, people reach that. Even in exercise, people reach a place where they shed these old energies. So it's just a little bit higher than that, but it's this yummy, amazing space of, I'm home. This is who I truly am. It can take practice to get into that place, of course, but we all have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a meditative state, and it's also like completely emptying yourself from a lot of things, so you feel kind of just light, and then you can experience things that are beyond these five senses. So I think I love that. And one important thing that I want to talk about, because you are working with women with, like you mentioned, with loss, and we have these awareness. I think in October is an awareness month for reproductive loss. And there's so many different losses. So I've mentioned this in earlier podcast when I did write my master's thesis. I looked into the different type of losses that are, well, loss is actually a really strong theme when it comes to infertility and wanting to get pregnant. And then women who go through it have different experiences. It can be miscarriage, it can be other types of losses. And when it comes to, how have you seen in your work the actual, because one loss that people don't think about is also the embryo loss that can occur when you go through treatment like IVF. And yes. Have you worked with women who have gone through this and communicated with, and has the actual soul become embodied in the embryo, or how have you seen that?
Yes, I mean, just this last week, I read for 2 clients who had early losses, and in one of the connections, the soul, it seemed that the soul, I was given the month when conception would be juicier or yummier or energetically stronger, and that actually was the month that she had lost her baby. But often in these cycles, I see if there is a loss, so often, and you can read about many stories of women saying, a year to the day I gave birth to my baby from the loss. So there's some retrieval and magic there and repair there, but it can run the gamut. But a lot of times it could be a gender switch. It could be the soul is not ready. It could be, okay, the body understands this wouldn't have been viable, this birth. This embryo wouldn't have formed correctly. It's the body wisdom. There are 500 reasons connected to loss. It's not been my experience that the soul is in their suffering. I really feel the soul is standing by, sending love and support to the mother who wants to be a mother. Honestly, I really feel we're all mothers, whether we have a physical child or not. We mother our attributes as women, and we're mothers of this planet. We're mothers in so many ways, but the soul stands by to nurture. So yeah, there's just many ways and experiences about it. And I really talk to women about creating ritual around the loss and getting really creative with that. It doesn't matter what you do. It just matters that you do something, because that moves the energy. It's harder to get pregnant again if you haven't been able to do anything with the grief. And grief is not something we can banish or we just get over. Grief is long-term, but you can partner with grief and sadness. You can be family with your grief. That gives it less power or energy. So I really guide and work with women with ritual ideas. One client really wanted to hurry up and get pregnant again and try again. And she was very young, only 30 years old, and in a rush, because there's this panic that, oh my God, the medical system says, I'm not going to have a lot of eggs real soon. And look, I'm not a medical person, but I can't tell you over and over again, look at us as a species. We're living to 100, 105 easily now. Not easily, but a lot of us are. We are changing. So why are we believing in a medical model that tells us at 35, you're done? When I'm seeing women right now, I'm not making this up. I'm seeing women 40 getting pregnant naturally, 43 getting pregnant naturally, 44. I can't explain it, but I do trust our species, and I do see us evolving. And it's amazing. It's fascinating. So really want to encourage women, don't give up hope. Don't give up. Walk your grief. Ritual your grief. Make friends with your grief. Then jump into hope, fearlessness, be that trailblazer, have great faith in yourself, and maybe create a baby altar. I love baby altars. You can have so much fun with that. And, set a place at the table for your baby. Start incorporating baby in your physical life. Yeah, just how people do, and we're coming up on my favorite month, October, my birthday month, my Libra birthday month. But, how we consider the dead, in many traditions, that's a time of connecting with the dead and the souls of our loved ones who've passed. Well, I'm a big fan of, I already feel my baby. I'm already going to go shopping for something for my baby and create a little altar, have fun, connect with your little one, write letters, practice meditation where you're in the gap, and practice receiving communication, whether you're walking or you're in meditation. You can always be engaged. Just because your baby's not physically here, you can still have a relationship.
Yeah, there's so much great things in there which you shared, because it's also about seeing. So if we are on also a spiritual journey that we've tapped into that, everything is kind of initiating us in our process and in our own journey, like everything in life is. And sometimes the experiences of life is light and fun, and then sometimes, because if we look at the elements that in Chinese medicine, for example, now when it's fall, we're getting into the metal element. It is more connected to grief and a little bit this heavy energy, and that's part of also Mother Earth cycle. It's necessary for this period to happen. We're going within. So seeing that as a part of our own cycle, because all people have different experiences. And also, I think it's important for women to know that they're not alone, because it can. It also in my study that I did, it's one of the things is this isolation and the sense of being alone in one's own journey, because this is also a topic that is not talked about, and this can be so much helped with some type of healing and spiritual practice, or some like the work that you do, because you can find so much meaning, and going through the grief is also like a really big growth practice, like any grief in life, like any very big grief. Because the most important quote I put into my master's thesis was this. For example, this was a woman that spoke about her her infertility journey, and she said, this is like mourning, being in grief and mourning, but no one else knows about it, and you're mourning by yourself because no one else knows about this. It's like an invisible loss, but that's like a powerful journey to go through, and connecting that with your path, like calling in these your ancestors or whatever you need to feel supported. That can open up like a powerful portal. And I guess that's how you also like connect to other dimensions, because all of a sudden you're not just in this world and just like thrown into things just by chance. It's like a big plan that we have to see. But it's hard when we're going through things in life to see that big picture, right? So it's really,
yes.
I love what you mentioned about like working and being with the grief, because also this is in all type of reproductive loss, including infertility, is a trauma. So, and you mentioned this, I think this man who works a lot with trauma healing. It's really
Dr. Gabor Mate.
Yeah,
yes,
it's important to
work.
realize that this is as traumatic as people with illnesses. What do you say when the illness probably will lead you to die? That type of
terminal illness.
Terminal illness. So imagine if you see it like that, but you're so strong that you will probably not die from this experience, but you can grow so much from it as well. And working on a spiritual level with your own soul's journey, but also connecting to these energies that we don't know exactly how they are interacting with us. I think that's so powerful in the work that you're doing.
Yes, never give up. Never. It really is. The universe is working in your favor. Never give up on that idea. But the grief piece, even for myself, the last 2 years have been intense. Last 3 years have been intense. And navigating my own teenager through a lot of things. There were weeks I had to move readings and could not read in that week because I was so socked in with grief. So, you're absolutely right. When we're in grief and we're in these deep emotions, our radar can be a little skewed, or we can't access as easily. But we should always strive towards working our way back out of the ditch, so to speak. And there's magic always. I just feel so lucky, friends have invited me, like, let's go do ayahuasca, let's go do journey space, let's do this. And I go, I can't. I already live in a place where I'm not going to do mushrooms or ayahuasca, because I'm already seeing and feeling and experiencing a world that, like, that's enough for me, and it makes me so happy. And I feel that those are tools. Mushrooms or journey space are tools so people can get a taste of what's going on behind the scenes a little bit, right? And engaging with what's going on with their soul selves. And there's magic around us all the time. In the birth room, one of my favorite births, where I had a very skeptical father. And again, I'm very much a doula in the birth room. I'm not nobody needs a psychic or medium in the birth room. I'm very grounded with my clients. But during the pushing stage, there's a moment where ancestors step in a lot of times. And if you're really listening and feeling into it, you'll feel it. So I had this dad, he was very skeptical about my work, and I was massaging his wife's feet, and we were about to go into the pushing stage. And I was really in deep meditation, and I could feel he's in Eastern Indian, and I could feel his ancestors come into the room, and it was like a wave. It was the most beautiful celebration and excitement, and this wave of maybe like 15 souls just coming in. And I hear him sniffling behind me. And he goes, Sufi, what's going on? And I go, yes. What are you feeling? He goes, what just happened? I go, your ancestors are in the room. He's like, I felt that. And it was a celebration. He crossed. He's not a medium or psychic, but in the moment, in this sacred moment where the gate is so close, he felt the magic on the other side. And I just love that. And we can all do that. But yes, when we're socked in grief in the day-to-day, it's hard. It's hard for even the most psychic or mediumistic person. And here's another piece with, because I hear this a lot of family, you can feel isolated in your grief with a loss, because a lot of family, and if your partner is struggling with sadness and grief, they just want you to feel better and get on with it. So you can feel even more isolated because your family doesn't want to talk about it. It's just really sad and hard, and people deal with grief in their own way. So I really recommend finding a group of women to talk to. I just spoke to someone who's part of a grief group of loss in here. And she's so happy in this group because she gets to express herself and she doesn't feel alone. So please find your people, talk to other women. As new moms, find other women. I know there's some competition and all this weirdness, but you will find those couple women you resonate with, and they'll be lifelong friends. You cannot isolate yourself. As women, we just work better together. And we've got to get away from this competition piece. It's so damaging.
I love that you mentioned this, because it is true. In the study I made, it was actually easier for women to talk to others that have gone through the same thing, because it is very hard to, like, imagine a teenager understanding how it feels to be I don't know, that was not the best example, but let's say you cannot really fully understand what it means to be a new mother if you've never been a new mother, right? Or you cannot fully understand what it means to go through infertility if you haven't gone through infertility. It's not even imaginable. We cannot imagine everything. We can empathize and sympathize, but it's not really and I really love that you said this, because I think that applies to many situations where, let's say, someone is going through an emotion and really needing to be in it and also express it, and someone else says, well, something logical, or trying to fix it with something, but it's not. It's a process we have to go through and come out from and grow from. And maybe sometimes this grief never goes away, but it's becomes more manageable, and it's something that really, like, you find your own way to what helps you. And knowing that as everything evolves around us, nature evolves, these cycles we're in, also this experience will also change. So everything that and for a new mother, I mean, it changes every day probably, and the baby changes, and the world changes. So I really love that everyone can find like a support group, and to empower each other. Like you said, we're living in a society where it's very individualistic, so we don't have this beautiful communities that we might have had before, and women supporting women. And maybe it's also depends on which culture you're in. I can imagine it's different in different parts of Europe, and different in the US, and in Asia, and so it's going to be very different depending on the culture as well. But it's really interesting what you said. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm really.
Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead, Sophie.
Oh no. It's fascinating to me how as in our Western culture we've separated and we've labeled, this person is psychic, this person is a medium, this person is we have all these labels and divisions. This person is a farmer. I mean, we all have these different roles, but in a village, it's the same, but it's not glorified. Like one of my favorite experiences, I was in a village called Siklish in Nepal, and very remote. And I was a bit of a shaman collector. So in my youth, I wherever we would travel, for my father's work, we traveled to many countries. Wherever we would travel, I would want to experience the local mystic or shaman. And I was shocked in this village. The shaman wasn't revered. He wasn't put on a pedestal. He wasn't seen as anything special. I thought my experience was very special. It was beautiful ritual. It was amazing. And the things he told me, I had a translator, was amazing. But the villagers, because I was there for a few days, they didn't, in our society, we can tend to put people on a pedestal. And I really want to, yes, everybody has levels of ability, but we all can connect in. We all can get there. I've just been practicing and doing this for a long time. Yes, I do have some karmic pieces, but I just love how the village life and the connection, and Dr. Mate says this about hunter-gatherer groups and how they were a system and they knew each other and they were seen. It was a whole different rhythm, and I hope we can get back to that. And it's really important to see your own value in your own sense and intuition, and not just go to someone and say, well, can you tell my loved one for me? I'll go, no. Or can you talk to my baby for me? No. I'm here to say you can do it too. But you've got to learn your radar. You've got to learn your radar. So the best teachers will teach you. My mentor was fantastic because she was always trying to get me back to myself, because I was like, no. I want to be a reader like John Edward. No. I want to be the next so-and-so. She goes, no, you've got to learn your system because you're here to do you.
Yeah.
And that's the best teacher.
It is empowering and giving the tools and opening that path. I really, really love that. And if anyone who's listening thank you so much for sharing everything. First of all, I really feel like we had a beautiful conversation last time, and now this one evolved on that conversation. I really recommend everyone to also listen to the first episode we did. But I want to thank you so much. And I'm wondering if someone wants to find you and work with you and see what services you have, where can they find you?
Best place is on my Instagram, Spiritual Life of Babies. I have a link tree there. That's the fastest way. Or my website, joynavigation.com.
I will share that in the show notes as well.
Great.
Is there anything else you would like to share before we close the call?
No, I'm just evolving and growing and learning and passionate about my work. And I'm just so grateful to have spent this time with you. I love your work. It's amazing. And let's just ride the wave here on Earth. It's never a dull moment on Rodeo Earth. Stay safe, stay healthy, and much love.
Thank you. Love.
Mm-hmm.